Hello, everyone, and great to be here with a very esteemed panel. And what agenda we have in front of us is to really discuss some of the issues around workplace wellness. We are talking about easily said and easier done with earned wage access, with a slightly larger canvas of trying to talk about workplace wellness and what all does it entail. You already have heard about the speakers we have on the panel, and I'm extremely excited to really moderate this session. And I'm sure that after 40 minutes of this session, we all would have some amount of nuances or nuggets for us to really look at this concept of workplace wellness in a slightly different way, or maybe in a more evolved way. Kicking off the conversation, just wanted to make a couple of points, that it's always felt that, an employee goes to the workplace and spends 9 hours. And that's the time what a person spends at the workplace. But the reality is that it's not only 9 hours, it's almost around 18 hours to 15 hours, depending on the type of work a person is involved in. A person's mind space is involved in what workplace engages or workplace occupies in the minds of people. And if that be so, most of the time we will see that employees manage and react to the situation of how workplace wellness is being looked after for them. However, I believe that over a period of time, over a couple of decades, what I have been in the profession, I do see there is a change the way we approach this whole issue of workplace wellness. And if you want to really expand it, whether it's a mental well-being or a financial well-being or a physical well-being or a family well-being, you can expand it the way one wants. And while I was thinking about this topic, I realized that where it all started, way back when the whole employment law came into the picture, and all of us had been following all those who are a part of a setups which still has, governed by labor laws. We will realize that there are certain type of laws which basically ensures or rather imposes on the employer to ensure physical well-being with the help of a medical tests or other preventive areas to work. Also in terms of wages, how the wages needs to be distributed, what sort of a wages can you really give to people, how much deductions can happen. So there is always a regulation, and there had always been a regulation around this at the workplace, and that was completely thrust upon the organizations with the help of laws. In last couple of years, couple of decades, if I may say, situation has changed. A lot of new age economy has come up, a lot of new age companies have come up, demography has changed. Many people may not really fall into the purview of employment laws per se, because it has its own definition of applicability. And with that, this whole scope of workplace wellness has become hugely important. And that's where we need to really start talking about that what all can really be a part of whole workplace wellness. What does it entail if one has to really stack up everything around it, figure out that what needs to really be worked upon with more priority than others. I believe in last couple of years, while we have been affected with COVID, it had been a huge impact on the financial well-being of people. We have realized that, I think many of the organizations have gone around either giving financial aids. People have also realized the worth of life insurance and the coverages for the employees and the workforce. It all finally comes down to financial well-being of people. But that's not the only approach. That's not the only thing what one needs to really look at when it comes to workplace wellness. With that context, I think that we are here to debate, discuss, and get some thoughts around workplace wellness. And to start with this, I would say that, Namrata, you lead a organization which is known for its people practices, Reddy's Lab, in a very governed or regulated sort of an environment, wherein everything right from the manufacturing shop floor to the supply chain, everything needs to be looked at very differently. How do you define workplace, and what are a couple of pillars or the strategies what you guys might be looking at in your organization? Can we just start with your thoughts? Then we can come with a similar question for Anjali, and Anjali can talk it from the Intel's point of view.
Sure. So I think I'll start with the well-being, right? And Yuvaraj, one of the things I'm sure you're aware, the purpose of the company lies in a simple statement that good health can't wait.
Yeah.
right? And we are doing it for our customers. So we said, why don't we do it for our employees first? So we divided well-being is very misunderstood into what we call it as a physical well-being, right? So we also talk about different things. We talk about physical, mental, which is also sort of emotional, but also social well-being of our people. Suddenly, I see in COVID times, people are taking a lot of interest in whatever services we offer to the employee. I think apart from the things that we are doing is something, we took something called as a COVID insurance over and above the health insurance for our employees, which was extremely reassuring for people, which also covered for the medication, home isolation, and all other things. And one of the things that we noticed was that because we were essential services, everybody's coming to work every day, no matter COVID or no COVID. So how do we look after the safety and well-being of employees in these times? All those things coming up. But it was very interesting journey in how there's a mutual buy-in between the management and employees on well-being. It's a really, really interesting journey.
No, I think great point. I like the point what you talked about in terms of a health passport, and I think that you also spoke about overall well-rounded approach towards ensuring well-being of the workforce. And one thing I also realized, Namrata, in last 1.5 years, so I think it has struck to everyone that it is extremely, extremely important to be cautious of the health and the well-being part of it. So very well said. I think Anjali, coming to you for this with the same set of queries in terms of Intel, a large organization, very different set of workforce. How do you approach overall strategy around well-being at the workplace, and what are those 2 or 3 essentials which you feel are a part of this whole strategy?
I think, Yuvraj, I want to start actually by saying that for a company like Intel and for a lot of companies like Intel, people are key. People are very critical. They are key to our business. They are key to the success of the company. And from there stems the whole connection with why we need to invest in wellness. So it's just no longer about, okay, it's for the good and it's important. Of course it's important and of course it's good, but I think it's very important from a standpoint of the employer value proposition. And it is extremely important also from the business standpoint, right? Because these are people with very niche technical skills, which you build over the years and you invest in, right? So I think the business case for investing in wellness comes and stems from there. That's number one, right? Now, I think 2-3 other points I'd like to make is the following, which is that when it comes to wellness, when it comes to employee well-being, it has to be holistic. And that's exactly the strategy that Intel also adopts, has adopted. And this is not something new. This is something that has been in place for years. And what we've done is over the years, we've built on it further to make it more sharper, to make it more relevant, to make it more, relevant to the needs of our employee population at that point in time. Now, just to give you an example, we had a wellness strategy and we had a set of benefits that fell into the wellness space. But let's just say when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit us really hard, we had to rethink our strategy and we had to introduce some new elements to make it very relevant to the situation, right? So we want to apply that principle of being very nimble, being very customer focused, need focused also when it comes to wellness strategy. Now, in terms of specifics of what we do, I think a couple of call outs are, we look at, when I say we look at wellness holistically, it's about physical, it's about mental, it's about emotional, it's also about financial, right? And if you were to just look at these 3 or 4, 5 vectors that I just listed, physically, one of the very important thrusts we have is employee safety at the workplace. right? Because you're spending 8 to 9 hours at the workplace. And even during the pandemic, when you are spending 8 to 9 hours at home, how can we make it ergonomically safe for you to, function so that you do not get your physical ailments? Okay, that's one. The second is, if you look at the way our facilities are built, we have access to nutritious food. We have access to doctors on site. We have access to gyms and workout places. We have access to extracurricular activities that employees can indulge in, for the sake of their physical well-being. Okay. When it comes to emotional health, I think the big one is the big one that causes this is really stress at the workplace, burnout due to excessive work pressure, right? And over there, I think we've been very conscious to look at the concept of flexibility, right? Intel having a flexible work strategy is essential because we believe that the flexibility helps you manage your well-being, helps you manage personal with the professional, which is a reality for all of us, right? And in addition to that, right, we also in this space have looked and we've invested heavily in the concept of mental wellness, especially in the last 2 years when the pandemic has hit us really hard and people have gone through very anxious moments, right? And to that end, we have a platform that we've launched where employees can sign in and it's completely confidential and they can have access to doctors, they can have access to resources for their mental well-being. And by the way, I will say that it's not like we've arrived in the space. Mental well-being is a space where you've got to normalize the conversations around mental health. And that's what we're trying to do. And even in this space, as we speak, we're also looking at when you have insurance plans, you have hospitalization, how can you introduce mental health coverage as well, right? So that's the other one, right? When it comes to financial, I'd love to link it back to the health angle, and I'll tell you why. Kind of, if you look at where people feel financially drained is when there is a huge, kind of a crisis that comes and hits your life and usually, invariably, it's health related, right? And when that health crisis comes and hits, it is a huge burn on your pocket. And in order to counter that, we have actually holistic insurance plans and coverages and options within it for our employees to avail depending on their need, their family size, and the situation that they're dealing with. In addition, and to the main theme of this particular topic, we also have, sort of emergency loan programs within Intel, which are interest-free, of course. And, there is a little bit of paperwork and documentation, not very much, but it's basically to give employees that comfort that in an event you have a financial crisis, you have this option. I will also say in the financial side, one other thing I want to add is we've also been very flexible in it. So when the pandemic hit, we actually looked at some very immediate programs to provide to the employees reimbursement programs for out-of-pocket expenses which come up, when you get sick and your whole family is sick, right? So we've given those options, and those are of course time-bound, but we introduce it as we go along.
Super, very, very well articulated. In fact, while you were talking, Anjali, I was just thinking that, you look at many organizations talking about employee value proposition, Namrata and Satyanarayanan, you also see, I think that people will talk in terms of many other things in terms of their pillars for the EVP, but would there be many organizations would really like to take it as a part of one of the strong pillars of their employee value proposition and use it to leverage, employer brand at the same time attract talent. So I think very holistic approach, and I'm sure that this is what is expected also out of Intel, which is a global conglomerate and employs a lot of new age workforce. So thank you so much for that, Anjali. Satya, in fact, you handle many other stuff what people actually aspire in life. If that's taken care of, it definitely impacts everything else very, very positively. How do you see that financial well-being or financial wellness of the large workforce, if you divide them in two parts? One are the people who may be at a higher salary bracket, and there are some people who would also be at a lower salary bracket wherein they would have a limited amount coming every month, and many people also live on some of the borrowings what they would have. How do you see financial well-being play out, and how it has got established as a relevant factor in the overall well-being or a workplace wellness construct in last couple of years, even if you want to refer it to the last decade or so. So your thoughts, Satya?
Yuvaraj, thanks a lot. I think let me quickly touch upon two important milestones that we were crossing during the period of the pandemic. Number one, in the month of August, we have crossed 10,000 employees globally, and we have doubled in the last 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is, that means more people are coming into the company. Second milestone is CSS has been in the industry for 25 years, and we started celebrating our silver jubilee last year, September 19th. The interesting thing is both of these milestones were enveloped or overlapping during a 1 century kind of an event, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, which has kind of distorted a lot of things, made people look at things completely differently. Practices which are hitherto unacceptable, for example, work from home was a taboo for a lot of people. Now schools, colleges, government offices, many things have been running remotely. So let me start my answer, and I totally agree with the viewpoints that Namrata and Anjali were mentioning about the well-being of an individual in this country, which has centuries and millennia of wisdom and tradition. People have always gone in search of a well-being, whether it was a young prince who stepped out of his house late in the night in search of that answer, or the Indo-Gangetic living people who are always in search of something. So obviously the answer when we try to define for a workplace well-being is a lifestyle well-being, which is a very holistic one. People have neatly explained about the nutritious food, the physical safety, all other factors. Fundamentally, we believe in a set of values. CSS reinvigorated our dream values last year. We did a large campaign covering our 8,000 employees then. One of the core values is respect individuals. Why have we put respecting individuals? Is you could give them money, you could give them food. But if you are not respecting people, nobody is going to stay with you. So more than anything in our dream values, which is dare to excel, respect individuals, energize, agility, and making customer success a priority, emulating integrity and all that, respect individuals is a core. Whether it's somebody is, as you said, they could be in a definition of the organization, they could be at the bottom of the pyramid, but we need to respect individuals. And let me also touch upon something before I get into the financial side of the story. Last year, I ventured into a territory which was unknown, which is whenever any employee gets affected by COVID in India, I thought of reaching out to them and reassuring them that our support is there with you. So when I was doing that, I had to make almost 400 to 450 calls. So I just wanted to highlight that aspect of emotional well-being, because everyone can provide physical well-being. Companies can provide salary, company can provide very many different things. So that emotional well-being has been the core of CSS as an organization. It completely aligns with our philosophy of people first and people always. And when we grew manifold from whatever number to 10,000, believe me, we had got so many new employees walking into the company who have never seen each other. So that kind of a thing during a psychologically depressive phase of COVID waves, various waves and various variants have ensured that people were completely taken care of. Coming to the financial side, let me look at it as again a problem which has to be looked at holistically. Last year, we rolled out our promotions and variable pay 100% on time on the dot in April. Our CEO was not worried about the uncertainties of COVID at that time. So that way we were ensuring that financial complexities are not running in the minds of our people. So this year also we stood ground, we have done that kind of a thing. Apart from that, what I believe is financial well-being is a much more bigger subject. We need to make, it is just not sufficient to give people a salary. We need to teach them the art of creating wealth. And this is where our awareness campaigns come in. So to put it in a nutshell, Yuvaraj, this whole phase has been deeply disturbing for the society in very many different ways. And to just narrate and conclude my portion with an instance in May, when 1/3 of my workforce, HR workforce, was down with COVID and people affected in their family, the remaining 2/3 swung around, and I told my CEO, the HR team, without revealing its tears, have been able to wipe off the tears from the
Help and support can be provided with the leaders in the organization, but personal support and generally giving solace to people that we as an organization are behind you and around you can have a huge amount of effect in terms of morale of an individual or also overall well-being of an individual. That's what I think that you were referring to. Coming to Chitresh, you are a successful entrepreneur in the space of products which are more around financial management and also solving of some of the stuff. Tell me what has been your experience and how do you see overall financial well-being or finances playing a role of an overall well-being in the minds of people and the organization, and what sort of challenges organizations can face if they really focus on this part of overall well-being for the workforce.
Fantastic. Thanks, Yuvaraj, for the question. I am actually pretty impressed on the subject and the holistic nature of it. From me, one of the things, if we notice, which you rightly put up, Yuvaraj, is while health, psychology, emotion is no longer an option, it's not a question of whether or not, it's a question of how now, right? Finding ways to do it. And that is not the same that has been seen globally when it comes to the financial side. Right, financial well-being at the best in the past couple of decades have been defined as salary disbursement, improvement of time cycles, but there is little or no innovation yet, which what the last 5 years has seen in fintech trying to improve the financial well-being of their employees. And this is where it goes back to the philosophy of what exactly financial well-being responsibility an employer has, right? If you zoom out and you see the bigger picture, an average person's life is close to 70-80 years, of which 20-25% is actually focused in education, which is schools and colleges and universities, which is responsible for carving that overall character of individual. Yet we do not have personal budgeting as part of core curriculum in any of the schools. It'll teach you how to run business, it'll teach you how to be better at what you do, but there is never that part of managing your personal budget, managing your personal finance. It's somehow let for you to do it for yourself. And then when someone's migrates or upgrades, as you say, into their professional life, right, it's in a way another big chunk of life spent with their employer at their work. As you rightly said, it's not about 9 to 5. The work will impact you before you come to the office, after you go home, right? It's always there. It's taking a corner of your brain. So the ideology is, what can employers, what can brands, which is being seen aggressively being done, not just globally in developed markets, be it US, but countries like India, Brazil, Mexico, where this has become no longer an option, right? Where employers have taken up the responsibility that, maybe the schools and universities have failed individual to get them better at personal budgeting. It's our responsibility. And to be honest, personal finances is not just giving them, all about money. It's not about just giving loan or, being there to reduce bureaucracy to get them access to money. I think personal finances is a much more 360-degree definition of what my income means, right? What expense does the ratio of income should be there, right? If I'm making 30,000 rupees, should I be spending 30% of that on going out and eating? So it's actually macro, but very micro and very individualistic in nature. Every individual is so different, and that's what makes it super complicated for employers to manage, because there is so much more to financial well-being, because it becomes a full-time job, right? When insurance came in, when it started to become regulated, when it became mandatory, all of a sudden, the business side of the world started to search for providers, and usually it was the banks. And we are now starting to see new age companies making it as easy as putting information, and they tailor the entire product to you. That has no longer become an option. Companies have to go for it, right? We need to insure our people. We need to take care of emergency that might happen. And the same needs to be seen for financial, and it's already been seen where we need to be very individualistic in nature, giving people the ability to understand their income and expense and giving them ability to budget it better. And this needs to be automated because it's almost impossible to speak and connect with individual because it's such a personal topic, right? It's such a personal topic that it's hard for people to come and open up, no matter who they're speaking to, whether they're work colleagues, whether they're direct managers, and so on. So it becomes very individualistic and very protected side of your life, where you somehow need technology to play the big part, in making sure that everything is automated and in their palm, hidden on the screen in their hands. And they need to feel that their data is protected. They need to feel that no one's looking over the shoulder, yet helping them improve on their personal finances, whether it's managing and understanding their income level or expense. And more importantly, I think the fight which has been seen with the concepts like EWA, a lot of employers and brands have actually built it inside their company because of the integrity and importance of the concept, which is great, is that it gives and fights for the factor of access. It's no longer an option. You at a press of a button, you get your Domino's pizza. At a press of a button, you get your Uber. And we are in 21st century, and we're talking about still having to wait for 30-45 days for salary, right? It's working towards that angle.
Chitresh, sorry to come in.
Yeah.
What are you referring to? You talked about financial well-being and how a person should really be educated and made aware right from the childhood till the person becomes adult in terms of managing personal finances.
Indeed.
You're also referring to a fact that everything is available at the click of the button.
Indeed.
And you are also referring to something, what you're talking about is EWA. Can you just briefly, 30 seconds, tell me what are you referring to, so I can weave the questions and the thoughts around it? What is it exactly?
Sure. So it's very simple. It's about what is the macro problem and how is the macro problems taken and concerned and converted into micro issues and solution. So the journey starts with helping people understand their personal expense and incomes better, then actually working towards giving them the accessibility of anything about money, and then again tailoring their expense to financial product, be it insurance, be it education loan, be it micro saving, be it micro investments, tailored and integrated into their behavior without a lot of interference from around that bubble, because it's very individualistic in nature. So I think it's a journey, and the start of the journey happens. It should have happened in the education side, but now it should happen from an employer side.
So I think Satya, what Chitresh is talking about, and Anjali and Namrata, he's talking about the fact, and I think that I was also reading something around this, and I read a smart, interesting story that in the US or some country wherein there was a CEO who basically had a multi-million salary, and the fellow negotiated with the organization that I need my salary on a daily basis. Because if you keep my salary for 28 days in the bank account, if it is of that magnitude, I lose interest on it, and you also make money out of it. So why should I really do it? So you give me my salary on a next day basis, sort of a thing. And I think that's what Chitresh is talking about in terms of earned wage access. What we do it is in terms of giving people a salary advances if they need it. People need to really come to the offices and ask for it. Can there be a situation wherein you have a periodicity defined, or even the availability of your earned wage available to you, so that you can really spend it as in when you need? And that's a concept which is quite European and American. In India, I'm sure that there are some organizations which have already taken it up, and I know some organizations have taken it up for a certain category of people. But how do you see this solving issues, Namrata? And do you see there are certain challenges which can come with this? Am I right, Chitresh? Is that what we have been talking about, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So Anjali, you want to go first?
So I think, I think it's an interesting concept, Yuvraj, I would say. And I think to Chitresh's point, it is, I think we are at a juncture where things are evolving. There are a lot of options that are getting offered. I mean, that's really what I take away also from how Chitresh was painting the picture about.
And just to announce, we have only 5 minutes left, so we can just quickly wrap up. Yeah.
I'll just take 1 minute. So, I think it is doable. I don't think it is something that cannot be done or should not be done. I do think that as we try to do something like what you described, Yuvraj, there will be some amount of, sorry about the noise, there will be some amount of use case analysis we will have to do from, what is really the tax angle to it. What is in it for the employee? What is in it for the employer? What are some of the risks that we expose people to? And also, I think more importantly, what could giving a wage on a day-to-day basis or even on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis mean from a savings stand, right? For a fairly young millennial workforce, where the tendency to spend is pretty high. I'm not saying they will or they won't, but will this work slightly differently? And if we do this, do we need to bolster it with some other efforts is what I would say. But it's not something that we shouldn't or cannot explore.
Great, thank you. Namrata?
Yeah, so two things. First is what we are doing today. So I think most of the companies are giving salary advances to people. They continue to help people and support people with salary advances. Second thing, I was thinking that the whole ecosystem has to change. For example, the milk person who delivers milk, you pay on a monthly basis. So maybe as the ecosystem around us evolves, right? If we need to do a daily payment, for example, most of the payments I remember, I don't know about any one of you, but first of the month, you end up giving all your bills. You sign off a lot of bills you buy. So one is legacy of the country that we are used to a monthly system. Second is the ecosystem around us. If it evolves, we can evolve as well.
Thank you. Satya, your thought on this. And I think, Chitresh was also mentioning that the ecosystem and a people mindset needs to really be looked at. And I think he also talked about, overall education coming around this space. One needs to really be very, very educated about how this really need to be used. Of course, on the face of it, if you look something like this, I think the day it comes, like my father was an advocate, every day he used to come and bring money, and next day it used to get, polished off. And so I think, but he never had that financial prudence or the discipline in his way of spending. So I think all that precedes the process of bringing something which is so revolutionary and a thought process. How do you react to this, Satyanarayanan? What challenges you see from the people and employers' point of view?
Yeah, I would summarize it in one word and then expand it. The idea is novel and nascent for India. As you rightly pointed out, Yuvaraj, my research also shows that it has been an American concept. It has been there in Europe and it is evolving. Certain concepts take time to strike root. For example, I go back to my industry, IT industry. Cloud was a big buzzword in 2010. But not much was happening. People were sticking to their own data centers, offices, etc. Come March 25th, people ran away to their homes for safety and started working. And cloud adoption is a big multi-billion-dollar business for IT companies and others in the next 5 years. So this whole idea of earned wage access, today it is nascent. Tomorrow it could become prevalent. So today, right now, there are other problems that we are equally toying at, whether it would be a hybrid workforce, whether who should work from home, how do I solve vaccination issues, how do I take, these things are running in our mind for at least another 5-6 foreseeable quarters. This is on one side. On the other side, Government of India has worked out, simplified a lot of labor codes, and we have a bunch of them reduced into 4. And we are looking at the notification of the same at any point of time. And there is a huge psychological, physical, practical preparation that has to happen along with that. So that is the second problem. Third, now if I'm looking at well-being and financial well-being and looking at EWA as a tool, my thoughts are simple. The millennials' minds work differently. I have 2 grown-up daughters, one working here, the other working in USA. The more closer I move with them, I find that they have a different way of life every time, all the time. And all my accumulated wisdom has to listen to them quite often. So I look at the kids in the office who are in the 20 to 30 age group in that as my own son or daughter, and how would they react if I'm giving them, what do they want? See, sometimes we think, I mean, there are famous popular films where the dad thinks everything for a child, son or daughter. But today, as a corporate head, do I think for them or what do they want? That is one question. If it is very good, if I implement it because I think it is good for them, but they don't want it, it is not going to take off. But if they think that it is good and if we are enabling, then there is a win-win factor and all the advantages that we see about retention, trust and all that can work up. So right now, this is more of a nascent stage. Like a pandemic, like the way digital transactions have grown several manifold times, if there is a spur which pushes people towards an earned wage kind of an access, the adoption could be faster. But right now, we are in a phase where the cultural, psychological exploration is happening and the waters need to be judged before somebody jumps into it and tries to swim fast.
Great.
I hope I have put my thoughts through.
No, thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Satya. And I think that we have run out of time. I had a huge number of other thoughts to really discuss. But how do I really summarize it? While Namrata, Anjali, Satya, you all talked about different aspects of workplace well-being, right? And whether it's a health related, emotion related, physical safety related, all these areas are a part of overall well-being at the workplace. And let's forget about well-being at the workplace. Well-being as a generic concept across in any space for that matter. Financial well-being also holds an important ingredient in the overall approach, right? And many a times, I think this can also become a reason or a root cause for many of the other well-being issues what we have in our mind. We have seen as industry, as country, innovations happening across. You look at emotional health being taken care of. I think that many organizations have come up in terms of online counseling. We also see in terms of a safety, and we see that insurance products have become very, very fungible and flexible to address the needs of people. Are we conservative? Are we not ready to take plunge in something which is far, far more proactive, progressive, and path-breaking in the area of financial well-being or financial prudence? Is a question which we need to all answer and perhaps figure out something which is highly innovative and breaks the shackles of the past and our conservative way of thinking. So that's what my last thoughts are, and I'm sure that all the organizations would also look at this from this point of view in terms of innovation and bringing something which is far, far more innovative, definitely keeping in mind the overall audience which it is supposed to be impacting. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Chitresh. Thanks, Anjali. Thanks, Namrata. Thanks, Satya. Great conversation. I wish we could have had more time, but I saw the 5 minutes buzzer coming in. But I think that we definitely have gained, and some people must have really picked up some of the nuggets and the nuances of the conversation. Thank you so much, and see you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.